All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Amboss webinar. I am Dr. Tanner Schrank, the Amboss Partnerships Manager for Eastern and Central Europe, and thank you for joining us today. I am here with my colleague Alex, who will be taking care of the chat and links for everyone. So today we're going to talk about how to study smarter, not harder, with Amboss. Okay. So first things first, this is my email address. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave us a question in the chat and I'll try to get to them, or Alex will answer them. But if you think of a question later, or you'd like to email me directly, go ahead at tls@amboss.com or at customer support, which is hello@amboss.com. All right, so a little bit about myself first. I am from the US and I went to medical school in Poland and graduated last year. And since then, I've been working with Amboss to try to improve medical education in this part of the world for students like you. So today we will be covering these things: what Amboss is, what makes it unique, how you can use Amboss. I'll give a sort of walkthrough of the platform, show you some tips and maybe some secrets that you aren't aware of yet, and then I'll show you how you can get your free trial access, as well as sign up for a group discount specifically for your university. And then there's time for questions and answers if anyone comes up with some later. And yeah, if there's any extra time, we can run through a couple questions together. All right. Cool. So make sure to keep an eye on the polls on the side. We want to get to know the audience a little bit more, so we'll be putting some polls there to find out about you. All right. So in addition to the free trial and the group discount, we will also be giving away 3 months of Ambos Plus access to 2 lucky winners today, so stay tuned until the end to find out who that is. Okay. So first things first, what is Amboss? Before my 3rd year of medical school, I had no idea what Amboss was. I was like the student on the left here. I would go to class, take notes, read textbooks and PDFs, and test myself with review books and QBanks, and try to study with flashcards and things like that. And in the end, a lot of times, I was more confused than at the beginning. And that's actually what the experience was for the founders of Amboss back in around 2012. They had just graduated from medical school in Germany, and they thought that there must be a better solution for this. So their idea was to put everything in one place. And that's basically what Amboss is. It's an online medical learning platform that is designed to improve medical education for students and then to support physicians after they graduate. So the key is that you set your goal or study objective, whether that is a big exam like the USMLE Step 1, if you plan on practicing in the US, or maybe it's a shelf exam like clinical neurology, or maybe it's just a subject, anatomy, if you're a first-year student. Or when I study with it, I'd like to keep it as general studies. So that means everything is your goal. And then once you set your goal, you can read our articles in the knowledge library, just like you would a normal textbook. And this is how you actually learn the material. And then to check your understanding, we have a question bank with over 5,000 questions. And then to make sense of all of that and to be able to track your progress, we have analytics tools so that you can see how many questions you've done, how many you have left to do, how well you're doing, all these sort of things. And if you had to put Amboss in a nutshell, it would be the knowledge library, question bank, analysis tools. Okay. So the knowledge library doesn't just have articles. We also have a bunch of videos. So we have 2 kinds of videos mostly. We have osmosis videos. If you've used that resource to study medicine before, you know that they're really fun and they're a different way to learn rather than just reading all day long. So we use their videos in our articles, and then we also have our own video series called Chalk Talk, which I'll show you a little bit of later on. And then we move on to the question bank, where we have clinical case-based questions. They're all multiple choice, and they tend to be more difficult than the actual exams. And this is by design, so that you feel more prepared on the day of. And then our analysis tools, of course. And these are much more than just if you got the question right or wrong. It tells you where your weaknesses are and what information you specifically should know to get the question right next time. Things like that. Okay, so that's what Amboss is. And now, if you have a ton of other resources that you're using, you may be wondering, why should I use Amboss? What makes it unique or sets it apart from the rest of the resources out there? Well, there's a few ways. One of them is summed up by this student. It's kind of like up-to-date, osmosis, and Wikipedia all rolled into one. And I really like this because it gets at the best parts of Amboss. So if you've used up-to-date, you would know that it's a clinical resource where they collect government guidelines and medical journal articles, and they try to cover a topic in the most overall way possible. And a lot of times it's more designed for clinicians than students. And so we actually have a partnership with UpToDate, and we take information from there and we make it more understandable for students like you and for freshly minted physicians. And just like their information is trustworthy and taken from governments and published resources, ours is as well. And then the osmosis part of it, I mentioned the resource itself, but just like they try to make learning more fun, and they have different ways of learning, so they have videos, there's also quizzes and things like this, we have all of that added into our platform as well. So I'll show you two ways that you can use quizzes on the actual articles. And just like Wikipedia is constantly updated and it's sort of crowdsourced, it's taking feedback from all of its users all of the time, that's just like Amboss. We actually have a system set up where we can ask you for feedback. You can leave feedback on any part of an article or a question, or maybe you just have a question about a question, anything like that, you can let us know. And then our editorial team and customer support will take it into account, and we constantly update our content, our articles, and our questions. So that's one of the ways we do that. And speaking of that, this is how our content is created, which kind of makes it unique for Amboss. We start with a medical doctor. They sit down and they write an article or a question based on whatever guidelines they're using. So that's usually the published guidelines from the National Board of Medical Examiners in the US. They sit down and they write or update an article, then they pass it off to another medical doctor. They cross-reference everything. They check all the resources that you're probably using anyway and make sure that all the information is top quality. And then we pass it on to a copy editor who checks on all the grammar and makes sure that the sentences work and they flow. And then we triple check everything with another medical doctor. And these editors along the way are ensuring that our content is of the utmost quality and it's trustworthy, and you can approach it. It's designed for students and it's designed by medical professionals. So all of that is taken into account, and that kind of sets Amboss apart. Another way is actually looking at the results. So one way that Amboss is unique is that it actually works. If you look at students who took the US MLE exams, this is step 1, so basic sciences, and then step 2 CK, which is clinical knowledge. The users who actually did the Amboss questions scored higher. So 12 points higher on average for step 1 and 15 points higher on average for step 2. And so the data kind of speaks for itself there. When you do the questions, read the articles, Amboss actually works. So that definitely makes it unique in my eyes. And this is probably my favorite aspect of Amboss. You can use it online, of course. We have amboss.com. You can use it in the browser. We also have 2 apps that you can download. One for the knowledge library to read articles, and the other one for the QBank so you can do questions. But these are also available offline. So you can download our app for free, and then you can download articles as well. You can read those whenever you need to. So if you have a big GI surgery coming up, you want to prepare for it, and you're in the ward, and there's no Wi-Fi, you don't have data in this part of the hospital, you can still read up on it on your phone on the app. And you can even do questions on it if you make a custom quiz and download that beforehand. Then you can do questions whenever you have the free time. It doesn't depend on your Wi-Fi access. And this was really important for me in my last year of medical school because I did international electives. So when I was in these different countries, I didn't have mobile data and the Wi-Fi wasn't really dependable. But the one thing that was always available on my phone was Amboss. So that definitely saved me a few times in the wards. All right, so talking about how Ambos is unique, I think you need to look at these 3 different parts. One of them is the unique features, and I'll go into that in more detail in the tour. Another one is the high performance. I mentioned the step statistics. In addition to that, over 95% of medical students in Germany now use Amboss. So this is partly because it started there. Ambos started as a German company, and then it expanded out into the rest of the world. And since beginning in Germany, now almost everyone uses Amboss there. And then integration. So by this word, I mean the articles in the knowledge library, the questions in the QBank, and then your analysis results are all interlinked. So that's what really makes it a comprehensive platform. You can jump from one aspect of it to another one within the same tab on your browser. You can go from app to app if you download the apps on your phone, and we try to integrate them as much as possible. And then we also integrate from outside of Ambos. So I mentioned partnerships with UpToDate, Osmosis. We also have done partnerships with Picmonic in the past. And we also have an Anki add-on. So if you use Anki flashcards to study, you can download the Ambos Anki add-on. And then when you hover over a medical term, you get the Ambos definition. And then you can even click it and go to the Ambos article. So we're constantly trying to improve your medical education. We understand that many resources are needed for this, so we're pulling those in as well. All right. Before I go into the tour part of it, we'll just take a breather and see if anyone has any questions. Any at all? Looks like some people are answering in the poll, which is excellent. Lots of you have heard of Amboss and used it. Some of you have never used it before. Okay, it's very good to know. Okay, no questions yet. Maybe some will come up when we get into the actual platform. So now you know what I'm talking about, why I'm talking about it, but how do you actually use Amboss and use it to its all of its advantages? Well, I touched on the library and the QBank and the analysis tools. We also have those videos I mentioned, and we have content from day 1 of medical school all the way past graduation. So that includes clinical content. This can be from clinical skills cases where we give you, like, a patient comes in with nausea. What do? Here's a checklist of the questions you should ask for a history and physical. We also have videos if you forget how to do a neurological exam or how to auscultate the lungs, anything like this. We have a clinical series of videos. And we also have clinical attending tips right in the questions as well. I'll show you that in just a minute. And I touched on the Anki add-on as well. So let's see. Someone has a question. Do I have to have membership with Osmosis? No, you do not. That's the beauty of it. We take their public videos and we put them right into the Amboss articles. So you don't need an osmosis account to watch those. So I'm going to share my screen and go over to a platform tour. All right. So if you go to amboss.com, you'll be greeted by this page. And if you haven't made an account yet, you can start your 5-day free trial. Everyone gets 5 days for free. And if you already have made an account, you can just log in. So when you log in, you'll be taken to a dashboard. This is my dashboard. And right away, you can go back to studying. So my study plan was Step 1 high yield study plan, which breaks down the top 30 topics for Step 1 into one topic a day for 30 days. And so I could just go back to day 1 and read bacteria and do the 4 questions I haven't done yet, or jump to day 2, day 3, or see the whole study plan here. And this will change depending on your objective and your chosen plan. But if we scroll down, we can see my performance. So on the left is my performance compared to my cohort. So that's other students with the same study objective as me. And this is based on the questions that I've done, which you can see a breakdown of on the right. So there's ones I got right and wrong. Of course, that makes sense to everyone. But there's also ones I got right with help. So I'll show you what this means when we get to a question, but it's basically like Amboss gives you a little nudge towards the right answer, and then you get it right. And you can see how many questions I have done and how many I have left in my study objective. So if you pick psych, it'll be say psych here. For me, I want all the questions, so I did general studies, and that's how I know we have over 5,000 questions. Okay, and then scroll to the bottom and you can see my recent articles I read and recent question sessions, which I can resume or review or analyze if I want. Okay, but if it's your first time on Amboss, then you probably want to browse. So to browse, we go to the library, and then we have it broken up into Chalk Talk videos, all listed here. And if you click one of these, it'll play in a tab, and then you can increase the speed, you can jump to different sections, you can do whatever, and then you can get back to reading the articles or doing the questions. So if we're browsing through the library, we see that the information is broken up based on where we are in medical school, kind of. So basic sciences for the first couple of years, clinical knowledge for the later ones, clinical skills for right when you're preparing to see patients, clerkship survival guides for that last year of medical school where you're in a ward, in a clinic, and you're actually seeing patients. And then after you graduate, we also have the on-call survival guide, which is just the most important need-to-know information at your fingertips. You can just jump to what a fever, what the diagnosis and treatment of that is, and then jump back to whatever you need to be doing. So for first-year students or early in your medical school career, I would go with basic sciences, and then you can go by discipline or system. So I'm going to go by discipline. And let's say I have a big anatomy exam coming up. I'll pick anatomy. Now I can go by system. And I'm going to do, let's see, respiratory. And now I can pick the actual article I want. I'm going to do airways and lungs. So when this loads, I'll show you how that works. Meanwhile, I'll answer this question. Great question. So someone brought up the fact that we have the German Amboss and English Amboss. These are actually two different platforms. One is built with the German European guidelines. The other one is built for English, so it uses the US guidelines. And so they're considered totally different for us. Your questions are different, the articles are different. Even having an account is different. You would have two separate accounts. And so definitely take that into account when you're deciding which version to have. I only use the English version because I speak English, and so this is going to be for the English version, but if you want to get the German version, you could get that as well. All right. So here we have the airways and lungs article. And as you can see, it's kind of broken down like a textbook. There's a table of contents on the side, which I can click on these links to jump to a different section if I want. And I can expand any of these. I can just expand all of them. And there's a couple extra features that I'm going to turn off for now. And as you can see, there's a summary of the topic at the beginning with a whole bunch of links. And we actually have two different kinds of links. One of them is solid underlines. Those go to a different article. The dotted underlines are links in this page, this article, and it will scroll to that part and highlight it if I click on it. And then right here, you can see one of those videos. And it's an osmosis video, and it's going to play in the same tab in the browser. Don't have to open up osmosis, log in, find the video, or anything like that. I can change the speed here. I can watch it and get back to studying. And then I can also take notes on anything I read here. These are your notes. These are just for you, and you can keep them however you want. I'm going to make this italic and then save it. If there's other students at your school on Amboss, you can also share your notes with them. And this little red dot means that I have notes saved. And here's that feedback button I mentioned earlier. You can let us know about typos or maybe an update to a guideline. And you just type that in and then send us the feedback, and we'll take a look and let you know. Yeah, so that's how we hear from you, one way. And now as we're scrolling down, we can go through this article. We can learn all about the lungs. But let's say we have this exam coming up and we want to just focus on the really important things. So let's highlight that stuff. It's a highlight tool. Okay, so that means that the trachea is very often tested on exams, so we should know that. And if we have this exam coming up very soon, maybe we only have 5 minutes to get through this article. Let's turn on high yield mode. And now it's just the need to know information. This is the absolute most important stuff. And as you can see, almost all of it is highlighted as well. Okay. And then once I do some questions about this topic, and if the topic is relevant to my study objective, then I can turn on Learning Radar. And this will let me know what information I needed to know to get questions right, which I got wrong. So as you can see, I've done 11 questions on this, gotten 10 of them wrong. So let's find out what information I needed to know for those 10 questions. Here they are, underlined in red. So I needed to know the arteries, the left lung, the lobes, all of these things are highlighted here and underlined, and they'll stay underlined in red until I get those questions right. So it kind of pushes you to study your weaknesses, which is very, very important. Okay, so let's check out some of these images as well. Here we have Respiratory Tree. You can check out the picture. You can read the caption if you want. You can jump to the next picture here. And here we have the trachea. As you can see, everything's labeled. If you want to maybe quiz yourself on this, you can turn off the labels. Now you have a pop quiz. You have to label everything yourself. Or you can turn off the indicators as well, and now you have to really figure out what is what. But if you want it more formal, you can start a quiz. So this is what I was talking about earlier, where we make it more fun, not just reading all day long. So you have to name this section of the trachea. And then once you do, you can move on to the next one, or you can stop and get back to studying. All right. As we're scrolling down, we can see some other things like this table. You can do the same thing with a table. You can quiz yourself on it. So if you hit start quiz, all the cells are blurred. You have to come up with the contents of the cells, click on them, and they'll become clear. You can see what you knew or didn't know. Get back to studying. Okay, Now we come to some more cool images. One of them is a chest x-ray. Now, radiology is often very difficult for a lot of students, and if you aren't aware of how to break down a radiological image, this can be really daunting. So you can always turn on the caption and read what you're supposed to see, but a lot of times students still can't pick up on what they're supposed to be looking at. And so to help with this, to really let you know where the lower lobes lie and where the fourth and sixth ribs are, all these things, we added the overlay function. So this takes the image and overlays all these different colors and labels and arrows, so you know exactly where the important information is. And you can add the overlay and the caption at the same time and really understand the picture in depth. All right, scrolling down, see some more images, and we come to some microscopic anatomy. Let's take a look at one of these histological slides. And this looks pretty interesting. And of course, we can turn on the overlay, and then everything is colored differently so you know what you're looking at. And let's say we want to zoom in on one of these parts. Maybe I'm interested in this purple region down here. If I try to zoom in on my browser, it looks very blurry, right? It's very, very hard to look at. And at Ambos, we wanted to replicate having an actual microscope in front of you, so we made the Smart Zoom. Turn on Smart Zoom, and you can double click on any region or hit the plus, and you'll zoom in. And at every level of zoom or magnification, the resolution is refreshed. So the detail is always kept, and you can get as close as you want, and then you can move around, and you can have the caption and the overlay and the Smart Zoom all on at once. And we even have these little push pins so you can find out more information about different sections. So I find that super helpful for histology. Okay, so we covered slides and pictures and learning radar. What else do we have here? Towards the bottom of every article is always our references section. So this is where you can find out where we got this information. So our editors cross-reference all the material with your textbooks and your resources. So you'll notice some familiar names here. First aid for step 1 is here, gross anatomy, and then we also take information from journal articles as well. So this one is from Lung Anatomy in 2018, and you can read up more on that if you want. And so you can really trust that all this information is coming from good sources, and it's vetted and cross-referenced to match all your other studying resources. All right, so we went through a whole article there, and before we jump to the QBank, I will just check the questions again. Oh, such a nice comment. How many people are actually working on the platform, you're asking? So our team of international physicians is over 60 now, I believe. It might even be up to 70. And we're constantly adding more medical editors and junior editors. And we have actually 2 branches in Germany, and now we have 1 in New York. And so we're constantly adding more and more people to really improve this platform for you. And we started with step 2 material, I think, because it was the easiest to start up with, and then added the step 1. And since we have those covered now, we're even including step 3. So after you graduate, you would take step 3 if you're planning on going to the US, of course. But even outside the US, a lot of students in Australia and Portugal and all over the world use Amboss in English. So the material is really foundational, and it covers all the things you need to learn in med school, no matter where you're studying. I used it in Poland, and I graduated, and I'm a doctor now, so it really works. Are we planning to spread to Czech Republic? So yes, absolutely. We're always trying to spread the word about Ambos everywhere. And earlier this year, right before the pandemic, I went on a little road show with one of my colleagues, and the two of us did some workshops at a lot of different schools in the Czech Republic. And so since then, we've done more and more workshops and discounts and things because we really think that this is a good product, and students in the Czech Republic specifically can really make use of it. So I hope that answers your question. All right, now back to the article. Let's say we learned everything there is to know about lungs, and we mark this as learned. So now it's included in a list of learned articles on my app. I can see what I've learned already, and I can jump to a question session here. It says QBank session, and it will make a very quick quiz if I want. It will tell me my study objective, study goal, and then I can pick what questions I want. So I can focus on new ones, or ones I got wrong, or ones I needed help with, and that's still 0 questions. So we'll just do all questions. And then you can pick how many you want. So maybe you're in a rush, you only have time for 5 questions. You can go all the way up to 1,000 per session, but by default we'll do 40 per block. That's how the USMLE does it. So let's just pick 8 and we'll start. If we wanted to change it, we could hit refine and go pick a different exam or a different subject. But for now, we'll just go right into the questions. And now we're in the QBank. We went right from the library to the question bank without opening up a different tab or anything. And our timer's already going. And we have a list of the questions here on the side. So we can close that panel and just focus on the question here. And what's important is our questions are, I said clinical case-based, but what that means is they're vignette style. And this is how these big international exams are designed, where it's more like a patient comes in with this, what do you do? Rather than, oh, what enzyme is in the Krebs cycle and does this? It's more clinical, it's more applicable, and it makes sure that you really understand the knowledge and can apply it to a new situation. So as we're reading this vignette, we can start highlighting important information if we want. Maybe his demographic information, maybe his current illness, where he comes, says he comes to the physician. So if you do enough of these questions, you'll start to see a pattern, and that's on purpose because all AMBME and USMLE exams are designed with the same question structure. So you always get demographic information, where the patient is reporting to, what their chief concern is, what other symptoms or ailments they have, how long it's been going on, and all this is always in the same order. So that should kind of, when you pick up on that, it should speed up how fast you can do these questions. Okay, so let's see. His social history is he's smoked a pack of cigarettes a day for 5 years. His vitals are important. Cardio exam shows coarse crackles of the right lung. Okay, microscopic exam. So we even have an exam finding here. That's interesting. Foamy appearing cells. That's probably very important. These cells are responsible for which of the following functions. So this kind of seems like a step 1 question to me. It's more about the underlying mechanism or the processes that these cells are doing rather than how to treat or diagnose a patient. And a lot of students, when they start out, they might wind up highlighting everything. And if that's like you, then you might find our key info button very helpful. This will underline the parts of the question that Ambos uses to make the right answer. So the key things to know are the recurrent pneumonia, the clustered cuboidal foamy appearing cells, and with just that information, you should be able to get the right answer. So if there were lab values here, we could also compare those to the normal ranges as well. We'll close that for now. And we can also, if we're feeling very confident that maybe They don't secrete mucus. We can rule out that answer with this little X. And if we really love this question, we can save it to a folder and come back to it later. I already have it in the airways folder. I could add it to maybe the pneumonia folder. And then I can make a quiz later with just those questions. So does anybody have a guess on what they think the right answer is? Really quickly. We have A through E. Any guesses? While we're waiting for anyone to write in an answer, I'll check out the polls. It looks like about half of you are studying for local exams. Great to know. And a decent chunk, about a third, studying for the US MLE. Excellent. So, no guesses yet. All right, let's just start taking some picks then. I'm going to go from the bottom up, I guess. Let's unrule this out. Start with mucus secretion. Of course, this is wrong. And because I got it wrong, I don't find out what the right answer is yet. And that's one really important, unique feature here. When you get an answer wrong in Ambos, we don't tell you the right answer yet because we want you to guess again. We want you to see if you can get it right with some help, maybe. And one of those ways of helping you is telling you why that one is wrong. So here you can read up on what cells do secrete mucus in the lungs. You can go and click on these links and read about them. Or you can take another swing at it. And to help you with that second guess, we have the attending tip, which automatically opens when you get a question wrong. And this is like when you're actually in a clinic and you have an attending physician next to you asking you about a patient. If you get a question wrong, they don't want you to guess. They don't want to give away the answer. They want to give you a little extra info to push you to get it right on your own. And so that's what we're doing here. With this extra information, you should be able to pinpoint that it's type 2 pneumocytes. And with that, maybe you can decide which answer is right. You can't pick, and you can just keep guessing. And you'll find out why that one's wrong, why this one's wrong, why that one's wrong. And finally, you'll end with the right answer. And you can read up on why these are wrong and why this one's right. And if you're paying close attention, you'll see these little percentages next to every answer. That tells me how many other students guessed that answer as their final answer. And if 40% got it right, that tells me that it's less than half people are getting it right. It must be difficult. And we rank all our questions on a scale from 1 to 5 hammers, 5 being the most difficult. And this is a 4-hammer question, so that makes sense. When you get a 5-hammer question, you will definitely know it. Those are designed to be very, very difficult. Okay. So if we were reading this and we were convinced that we had already learned everything there is to know about the lungs, where was I supposed to know this? Well, I can click on the link here, and the article will open next to the question, and it will scroll down to the important part and highlight that section for me in green. So now I know, okay, type 2 pneumocytes, cuboidal, contain lamel, they contain these bodies, and they proliferate following lung damage. Great to know. So now we can move on to the next question, and you can just keep going through and answering these, or you can just guess, or you can skip to the end. But the more questions you do, the better the analysis will be. So I'm going to try to at least pick an answer for all 8 of these. And you can see the difficulties of each one on the side here. Oh, I got one right. So at the end, you can click on See Analysis, and then it tells me how well I did on that question session. I did 8 questions. I got 13% right. I took 35 seconds per question, which is very important to try to minimize, because in a lot of these exams, like the USMLE, you get like 90 seconds per question. So You need to really get this number down and how long I took total, and then a breakdown of how well I did. And I got none right with help. So that would have been key info, attending tip, overlay if there was a picture. That's what I mean by help. And I get a comparison against my classmates. And this is the best part, study recommendations. So just like after a shelf exam, we tell you what you should focus on and what you're good at. So you can look at systems. I can see that I need to focus on the lungs, not so much the chest. Or discipline, that's pathology, not immunology. And I can do a question bank session on that right away if I want to. Or I can go by article. And of course, since this was based on that article, this is the only one I should focus on. But if I want to find out why, I can click on it and see a breakdown of the information that was used to pick that as my top priority. And I can start a question, or I can go to the article with the link here. And now I've gone from the library to the QBank to the analysis, all within the same platform in the same tab of my browser. So that kind of shows how it's comprehensive and all in one. All right. So a couple more things I want to show you. If you want to make your own question session, not based on one article, QBank, custom QBank session, pick the exam you want to study for. It doesn't have to be your study goal. It can be a different exam or subject. And let's go with like farm. You can go by system, by discipline, by symptom even, or by article. You can access those folders I mentioned earlier. Here's the Pneumo folder. Then you can go by difficulty. You can do the middle ones, so not the super easy, not the super hard ones. And then you can do just the new questions or ones you got wrong. That's usually what I like to do. You can rename it, and you can have up to 1,000, but like I said, we start with 40. So let's go with 40. Start exam mode. So last time I showed you study mode. Now exam mode is supposed to replicate what it's actually like to take one of these big exams. So we have the blue screen. You can still open the lab values and take notes and highlight, but you can't use the key info button. You can't get the attending tip. And when you answer a question, move on to the next one, you don't find out if it's right or wrong until the very end. So just like the real exam. But when you finish your block, or when you want to stop early, then you go back to the analysis page, just like with study mode. Okay, so that's really helpful for students right when they're approaching their exams. Let's see. While this loads, I'll address this question from Nuno. Can I still access the question bank for the PNA? I saw that you have content for that. Yes, definitely can access the PNA content through the English version. That's what it's designed for. Yes. We have an entire landing page set up for that exam and all kinds of separate quizzes for that. So definitely you can find out more. I think if you just Google Portugal Ambos, you can find out, or just email me and I could send you all the links. Okay. So here's my breakdown of what the exam session was. And these are the articles I should focus on. Tells me how many questions there are for my exam and things like that. Okay. So the last thing would be study plans. I think these are super helpful and super important, and we're constantly updating them and changing this feature, so keep an eye on it. You can pick an exam, or you can pick a topic, you can pick a clerkship or a course, and then it will tell you what to do to prepare for that. It tells you how long it'll take, what articles and questions to do. So that's super helpful, I think. All right. So are there any questions at this point? If not, then I will get back to the presentation real quickly. And now we come to the point where I can tell you how to get Ambos. So I'm a doctor, not a salesman, so this part is not for me to try to sell it to you. This is for me to explain to you the differences in a couple important parts of Amboss. So we have two forms of Amboss. We have Ambos Plus and Ambos Standard. And Ambos Plus gives you access to everything, all the articles in the library, all the questions in the QBank. You can do as many or as few as you want, and it's you can access that by adding the unlimited QBank access as shown here on the shop. But if you maybe are in your first couple of years of school, or if your exam isn't coming up for a long time, you might want Ambos Standard. And that is unlimited access to the library, but you only get 50 questions a month. And then once you use up those 50, then you can't access more questions until the next month. So that's what this price here is for. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to show with this. But for students at your school, because we set up this webinar, we are also going to do a group discount for you. So if enough students sign up on this group discount, then you can get 25% off of these products of ours. And then if enough sign up, I think the number is 50 students sign up, then you get 40% off, except for the top one, 12-month standard. Oh, right. Sorry. Alex is reminding me that we don't even need to worry about signups here. So we're going directly to a shop. Everyone gets the best discount you can get. We already took care of the securing the highest discount for you. So yeah, you will get even more of a discount. So we'll send you a link to that in an email. And one person mentioned a special German-English discount. Yeah, so if you already are paying for the German version, you can add on an English account for a discounted price. So if that's you, Nadine, go ahead and email me, and I'll connect you to the shop, and you can get that going as well. All right. Any other questions about that? We also will have all the links in the offers section on the side here. Click on that and go right to the shop. You can purchase now or tomorrow or after you try out the free trial. So I hope that answers a lot of your questions. If you have more, please go ahead and email me or let us know right now. And this webinar is available to replay at the same link. So if you missed something, just go ahead and watch it later. Yeah. If anyone has any questions about how to study in medical school, how to prepare for exams or anything, just let me know. And if not, then I will announce the two lucky winners that we have. Drum roll, please. One of them is, forgive me for maybe mispronouncing these names, Carolyn Made. Congratulations. You win 3 months of Ambos Plus access. And the other one is Frederick Giele. So congratulations to you two. You are the lucky winners for today. All right. So Nadine was asking what my email is. It's right here on the slide, tls@amboss.com. I'll type it here too. Oh, Alex already got it. So go ahead and email us or hello@amboss.com for customer support. Yeah, you're welcome, Carolyn. Let's get to Nuno's other question. You want to use the QBank for the PNA? Excellent. Which version would I suggest? Standard or Cube? Adding the QBank. Well, if you're mostly doing questions, then I would say add on the unlimited QBank access, because I know when a lot of students are studying for big exams, whether it's the STEP or the Australian exam or the Portuguese exam, you're going to want to do as many questions as you can. And usually that comes down to like 40 questions in a day in a block. So if you're doing that, then you're definitely going to need more than 50 in a month. So I would take advantage of the group discount and get the plus access, at least until your exam, whenever that is. I hope that helps. And then we have, so I think Alex wants to share some information with everyone publicly, and that is my contact email and his contact email. We'll put that in the chat. And then we also have a survey where if you fill it out and it takes like 2 minutes, then you'll get your free access. So we'll put a link to that in the chat as well. There we go. All right, if you have any questions, feel free to email us. Excellent. Now, any more questions? If not, we have 6 minutes left, I think. Thank you all for attending, and best of luck on your studies. If anyone wants, I can go through a question quickly. Otherwise, thank you for coming, and I'll be around for a little bit to answer any more questions. Once you buy a subscription, is it open immediately? So the actual process of buying a subscription, you click on the group discount or the normal shop, and you enter all your payment info, and then you are emailed a code, and you enter this code on your Ambos account. I'll show you where. It's on the bottom left under the gear. It says account. Go to account, redeem a code, or it might be under memberships and licenses. And this is how you start your access. Okay? So if you buy 3 months, but you are going on vacation for the weekend, you can wait until Monday to enter it on here. Okay? So I hope that helps. Any more questions? I'll also say that the 10-day free trial is in addition to the 5-day free trial that everyone gets. And if you are already using Ambos, if you already have an account, or if you're already paying for it, then you can still use the group discount. You still get discounted access. So just make sure to take advantage of that, because it will expire. It is not around forever. The shop will close, I think, in a week. So really make sure to purchase that as soon as possible. All right, any more questions? Good question. It would be best to activate your account as soon as you buy it, because there is a time limit on it. But if you really have to wait to add it to your account, there is a little bit of wiggle room there. Yeah, Alex addressed that. Yeah, but for the foreseeable future, I think this is the main discount that we're going to give to your university. So it's important to take advantage of it while you can. All right. Any other questions? No? 3 minutes left. Someone's got that perfect question just waiting to ask it. No. Okay. Well, thank you for attending anyway, and I wish you the best of luck. Congratulations to our 2 lucky winners, and watch out for those emails we'll be sending you. Fill out the survey. Check out the group discount shop. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.